Hello esports fans and welcome back. Today I want to talk about passion, especially passion in video games, and why I do believe that just follow your passion and you're going to be successful is such a misleading advice. And I'm getting tired of it. I get a lot of messages, people, yeah, I'm so passionate. Doesn't matter whether it's poker, it's esports. I'm so passionate, I'm grinding so hard, yet I'm not successful. When I read those messages, I already know what is the root problem here. So unfortunately, this is being shared on social media over and over again, and you might have the dream to become pro, to make a living with playing video games or a certain video game, and you want to play in a team, you want to be sponsored, and you keep grinding over and over again. So hear me out for 5 to 10 minutes. I think this might save you years of wasting your time, and then you turn 25, you turn 28, and then at some point it makes click and you realize what it required to actually turn pro, but then it might be too late, especially when we play shooter games. It's also, early 30s, your reaction might not be so on point anymore. I used to play competitive Counter-Strike 1.6, so I know what it is now playing Counter-Strike with 31 years old, and my reaction is definitely not as it used to be anymore. So, and in this video, I'm also going to mainly touch base on team games. It's still applicable for solo games. And at the end, I will also share a little bit what you can actually do. So passion, why is not passion everything? So let me maybe show you something that I can illustrate my point a little better. So now I will also show you my incredible painting skills. So let's say this is 100%. If we reach 100%, we are a top-notch player. We can't really be better. It's hard to achieve, right? So let's say we have to be at least somewhere at 80% to have a real shot at becoming pro. Most of us, are recreational, but if you really have the dream, the vision to become pro, let's say 80% is a threshold. It could be 75, 85. Don't hang on those numbers. It's more for illustration. So I do believe that passion is probably going to only make 20%, right? So what else is there? The other side is working on your mental game, such as your ability to perform under pressure, to stay calm, to stay decisive, especially in crucial moments, to receive criticism during the game, outside the game. Very often I see players, and this is actually big, have such big egos, they have such a hard time to exchange criticism, and they take it way too personal, and that's very often where teams are breaking up, they split apart, and yeah, they have roster changes. Having the ability of course also to share criticism. Very often the way I see people or players sharing criticism, it's outrageous. So there's no surprise that you can constantly see teams breaking up. And all these points that I just shared, there might be additional 2%, right? 3%, so we're now at 25, 28. You really need to see it as some sort of scale of excellence or scale of performance, and simply being a good teammate to really enjoy hanging around. You also need to understand that you are going to spend a lot of time during the games, outside the games. If you're in live events, if you're online, you want to also chat something outside of video games. And if you're someone who is simply a douchebag, then don't be surprised that you get kicked out of the teams. And listen, if you have an excellent mental game, you're sharp, you're decisive, you're an incredible fragger, and you follow all these guidelines of what it requires to be an overall professional esports athlete, but you're a fucking asshole, you're going to be at 75 here, and those are the 5% that are missing. And you constantly try in every team, and you really have this winning, or you have you have that gene of winning within, and you want to inject it into the others. But then you're just simply an asshole. You have not the ability to share criticism. You take things way too personal. And then you wonder why, oh fuck, it's not really working out. So each of these little tiny bricks, they can be a game changer, and they can really fuck it up for your career. And yeah, so simply being a good teammate, being trustworthy, to not share details or secrets of the team with others, right? You need to see it as your family, your mental and physical health, right? Your ability to focus and concentrate for long hours, not only in tournaments, but also in scrims, to have a good enough diet to stay healthy and not being constantly sick. So you're missing out scrims, you're missing important tournaments. So these points that I just mentioned, and you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be a supermodel. You don't need to be Eckhart Tolle and have a super zen state of concentration and focus. Just with a few daily or small daily exercises, just meditating 5 to 15 minutes every day, you can actually reach a very solid level in each of these areas. Or when you lack the ability to share criticism, when you feel like you're constantly clashing at each other with your teammates, read a book about communication skills. Read a book about how to control your ego, or about ego in general. Try to also self-educate yourself. 20, 30 minutes a day, 1 hour a day. Pick a topic that you really lack, or an area where you feel, yeah, this is something I need to work on. You need to be very self-reflective. If you have a captain role or an IGL role, and you feel like very often you can't really reach the team after several months anymore, they're not really following your strategies anymore, read a book about leadership. There's so many excellent books about leadership. When I started my business, I also needed to learn how to become a good leader, and how to bring my message across, and how to be a good role model. You as an IGL, you're a role model. You might not be aware of it. So it depends on your role as in a team. And you need to take the responsibility to also grow as a person, and not be like, oh, I'm already the perfect player because I have perfect stats. Stats is literally like, that comes from your passion. That comes from grinding, becoming technically good at the game. But there's 60% missing. Right? Okay, you might argue that passion is 30% or 15%, but it's not everything. And there's so much more to that. So sit down and reflect on those areas and rate yourself. It would be actually better if you have someone that you trust, you can sit down with and break down all these areas: communication skills, leadership skills, receiving criticism, performing under pressure, your mental game, your physical health. Break it all down and let someone rate those areas, and try to identify those who you need to be, where you need to improve. As I said, if you would rate yourself on a scale from 0 to 10, 10 would be perfect. You don't need to be 10. You don't even need to be a 9, not even an 8. If you're like a 6 or 7, you're decent in all of these areas, of course. And then you have areas you're really good at. Some have a role like a captain role. They're excellent captains. They're like great communication, great motivators. They can listen. They can share criticism in a good way. They might not be the insane fraggers, right? That's where others come into play and have the fragging role. So everyone has its own strength, and that's totally fine. You're on your own journey, but try to be at least decent in all of these areas. Try to be at least a 5 or 6 in each of these areas. As I said, with your health, you don't need to be a supermodel, but at least following a few guidelines, not eating fast food all day or drinking sugary drinks. Try to follow some simple guidelines for having a good and healthy diet. This is of course a topic for a different video. I don't want to go too specific in each of these areas what you can do, but I think first you need to implement that mindset of understanding, okay, there's so much more to that. Because if you follow this advice on social media, then it can be very devastating for your career, to be honest. And if you get good at that, if you improve your mental game, if you improve your ability to communicate, each of these will ultimately also impact your performance in a positive way. If you have a good communication in the team, the level of trust will increase. This will ultimately also increase the confidence of each player, which was good for your own individual performance. You will have way more situations where you're going to clutch it. You feel the team is believing in you. But if you have a poor communication, if you don't really trust each other, or you have a very toxic environment sometimes, especially on bad days. Even good teams sometimes have days where it's not going well, but at least it's still a positive vibe. It's a very supportive vibe between the players. And if you have that, you will feel that the team is always believing in you. And you see in great teams that there are players that can clutch it. in every moment of the game. But if you don't have that, your individual performance will also suffer. Whether it is because of the communication, whether it's because you have a tiny argument during the game and it completely goes, or or it goes way too far and you start saying mean things and gets out of line, this will of course also impact your performance. The communication next game is not going to be good. So again, this is more focused on team games, of course, because most of the shooter games are team games. And yeah, and then of course your own ability to concentrate and focus. If you might be good or great in 1 or 2 games, right? You're like the perfect player, but then because lack of health, you get tired, you get fatigue, and then in the 3rd, 4th game, your performance starts deteriorating, and you don't constantly want to use boosters and caffeine. This is not good for your health in the long run either. So don't take the shortcut here. Here and there, it might be beneficial. Solo games, you're still gonna be in a team. You might need coaches. If you're not so professional yet, where you will have coaches, work with other players. I see this is one of the biggest leaks, in my opinion, that in solo players, they think it's a solo journey. It's a solo game, but it's not a solo journey. Team up with players from other organizations, even though they're your competitors. The synergy effects are insane, and you're going to be working with them. You can debate strategies. They can have a look into your game. You're going to look into their game. You try to share feedback, what you can do better. This is big. In poker, it has turned out over the last years, those who have teamed up with other players, even though they gave up a little bit of their advantage to share their secrets, but receive feedback from others or secrets from others that you had no idea that they existed. They excelled. They became one of the most successful players in the world. They made millions. And my philosophy is always humans are the greatest resource you can have, and the synergy effects are insane. If 2 players team up and they work on their game and they're good synergy effects, 1 + 1 is not 2, it's 8, it's 9, it's 10. It's an accumulating effect of helping each other, and the benefits are enormous. So for solo games, team up with other players and you will experience some great benefits. I hope this has helped you, especially my insane painting skills. You can book me for a private coaching and I will teach you the art of paint. Oh, just kidding. I hope you enjoyed that content. As you can see, I'm also funny. Subscribe, like, and then see you guys in the next video. Ciao.
I got goals to chase. I got roads to pave. Not yet where I want to be, but I got close today. I went ghost today. I got least to say. I be focused on these dreams like I didn't sleep today.